everybody, we are back. This is Joe Ryan back on the scene, and tonight we have veteran coach of the Trinity Catholic Crusaders, Mike Walsh, one of the truly legendary figures in Fairfield County sports. Mike, welcome tonight. Thank you for coming in.
Joe, thanks very much. Thanks for having me. I don't know about legendary, but I've been around a long time, and I've enjoyed a lot of minutes of it.
Well, of course, last week you broke the news that you're going to be stepping down. You'd hinted about it, maybe last year, but you were still in the midst of coaching, and you still. What led you to make the decision finally?
Well, I think every year a coach kind of reassesses what's going on, and I thought this was the opportune time to kind of step aside. I'm retiring, but I'm not leaving Trinity Catholic. I'll still be part of the program as an assistant, and I'll be able to spend a little bit more time helping the kids in the classroom academically to make sure that they do what they're supposed to do in their academics, and also at the same time help them choose what colleges they might want to go to. I've been fortunate to have a lot of connections in that area, and I just thought it was a great opportunity to have another role.
Your family has been such a part of the Crusader family. I mean, you have the O'Learys. It's such a family aspect of Trinity Catholic that drives that school. I don't think you can ever really step away from it.
There's no question, and I think you're talking about family. The outpouring, I was kind of humbled and overwhelmed by the outpouring of former students, not only basketball players or baseball players, but just students at Trinity who have reached out to me via email, via phone, via text, and congratulated me and wishing me the best, and glad to hear I'm not really leaving Trinity Catholic. And, it's been kind of rewarding. And it is, as you say, a family. The teachers, the administrators, it's all part of it. And this is an exciting time. Another reason I think I chose to step down was that right now, I don't know if a lot of people are aware of it, but Trinity Catholic is in the midst of a $5 million renovation. And they're going to have pre-K through 12 all on one campus at 926 Newfield Avenue. It's going to be a terrific thing. And I know that it's going to be something that I'm really looking forward to being part of. As I say, another reason for saying I'm going to be still part of everything.
Well, that's good to hear, because there were naysayers out there that were saying there was a little trouble, people were afraid of the future, but good to hear that Trinity Catholic is going to be a part of it, because it is so ingrained in the Stamford
Well, I heard the same naysayers that you're talking about here, and look, they wouldn't put $5 million into renovating the place, and the bishop, by the way, moves in next door if the place wasn't going to be successful. I think it almost guarantees success. And I'm a firm believer in that. And a lot of people that maybe were naysayers before, they're going to find out that it's going to be a terrific place. And not only sports, but academically. They're really going all out with the whole top third floor is going to be part of a media center. It's all going to be air conditioned. It's a great step. I'm kind of excited about it because I've been around that school first as a student, graduated in 1965, and came back to teach and coach, and my life has been the place.
Yeah.
And to see the exciting plans going forward, Joe, I'll tell you, I'm very happy about it.
Let's go back to that. like you said, you graduated, you were a star athlete there, then you went on to Iona.
I wasn't a star. I became a better coach than I was a basketball player, no question.
We'll let that go by the wayside. But anyways, you came back and you worked with Gary Liberatore, another legendary name in this area, Fairfield County. And then you take over in '79, and you've got the Ralph Kings, you got the Ray Berrys, Lou Orlando, Brian Kelly, you got all those kind of names. And then you go through your career, and you had the Jim Moriartys and the Vito Montellis, and now you're into the Garriacks and all the Melzers and all these other guys. We're a total bridge from one generation to the other. But the FCIAC, as you've seen the FCIAC and what basketball has meant to the FCIAC and what the FCIAC has meant to the state basketball, What are your images come to mind? What comes to
the
mind?
first thing that comes to mind is when I first started under Gary. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot from Gary. I learned that he had 3,176 points in college, which he says is still a record in New England. I don't know if that's true or not, but maybe. But Gary was a great guy, and we had a lot of fun together. And then when he decided to leave, I took over the program, and as you say, some really great names. Donnie Usher from New Canaan, Brian Kelly from Staples, along with the Ray Berries and the Lou Orlandos and Phil Ragazzino. You can't forget Phil.
Right, can't.
And Herm Alswanger.
Right, I forgot.
I mean, there's some just great names and guys that I learned a lot from, and they were very good to me. And then as we went forward, you know, coaching against guys like Jimmy Moriarty and Jeff Buzzy, you know, there's some really good coaches that I got to know there, and I'm still friends with them. And now, ironically, I think there's about 9 head coaches in the FCAC that played against me when I was a coach, with Garriak being one of them, and
right.
Buddy Bray at Trumbull.
Danny Melzer.
And Danny Melzer, you know, just kind of neat. And to have those people reach out to you and say, you know, you've been a mentor to them and somebody they looked up to, it's like brought me back to the days when I looked at Ralph King and those guys back in those days. So it's been a great experience in basketball. And sometimes people forget I was a baseball coach for all these years,
exactly.
too.
I want to get to that because Babe Ruth League, too, because people didn't
Babe
bring
Ruth,
that up.
But even at Trinity, a guy I learned a lot from at Trinity as a coach was the late Mickey Leone. I coached for Mickey for many years, starting in 1973, actually, as an assistant. And, you know, I learned an awful lot from Mickey. Unfortunately, he passed away in '99, but then Tracy took over, and I was his assistant in baseball for a lot of years. And it just, Trinity Catholic, again, and Stamford Catholic back then, has been my life. Basketball, baseball. Part of the baseball, I mean, I obviously had a lot of great times in coaching my sons and doing Babe Ruth League, but it's been a great experience, Joe, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, you know, when I was talking to Scotty Erickson, all of us were blessed to have you after game because you always treated us well, victories, losses, whatever. You were able to keep a perspective on, did my team give their best? Did we compete? And, you know, as long as you did that, you seemed satisfied. And even if you weren't satisfied, you never showed it. How did you control that? I mean, there's certain guys that
to be honest with you, Joe, sometimes it was pretty difficult after a tough loss. But no, I really felt as a coach, you want to bring out the positive in the kids, and you have to be positive. You may, in practice, you know, tell them what they have to do to get better and correct them. But as far as the media and dealing with the media, you want to present a positive tone. And I was fortunate enough, though, going back in the media, to meet some really good people, obviously yourself. But, you know, I go back to Bobby Kennedy.
Oh, yeah.
And Dave Rudin and people like that. I mean, the media is very, very good. And I don't know if people realize it around this area. But you guys do a heck of a job, and actually I remember being in this Cablevision Optimum thing with Mark Robbins back in the day.
Really?
And he actually called me to do another one for, I guess he's with Vantage or something at this point. But I mean, you know, just I enjoy the media. You know, a lot of coaches may shy away a little bit, but I enjoy them, and I think, I wouldn't tell the media this, but I can use you guys to get my points across sometimes. And I think, anyway, again, a great experience. I'm very happy to have, I feel blessed, to be honest with you, you know. And as I said before, I'm kind of humbled that the way everything, I mean, people that I have forgotten even played for me. You know, they go out and they go out of their way to send me letters of congratulations. I got one from Tom Murray, the legendary basketball coach at Branford High School, telling me how much he followed my career and what a great job I did. And he's also one of the big moving forces in the CIAC. So, and then Dave Schultz, said some nice things. I was fortunate. I've coached 39 years as a head coach, and 13 of those 39, I went to the state finals.
Right, exactly.
Not too many people have been fortunate enough to do that, and we've won 7, so that was even better.
But and everybody knows about the stars you've had: the Rashmell Jones, the McClures, Austrie, Earl Johnson, Tevin Baskin. I mean, it goes on and on the list. I mean,
Dave McClure, don't forget him. He's now a coach with the Indiana Pacers.
And one of my favorites of all time is Cedric. You can't.
I love Cedric. I still talk to him all the time, and he's made a big move, and I think I helped him in that direction with going to Florida Gulf Coast, and he'll do well down there.
Oh, I think so. He's such a quality human being, too. He deserves the best.
He's great. And, in fact, it's ironic. Our big guy this year, Tavio, went to the University of North Alabama, down in, and they're in the same conference, the Atlantic Sun Conference, as Florida Gulf Coast. So he'll be playing against Cedric. I just told Tavio that I hope he doesn't have to guard Cedric because he got no shot.
Well, if you get down to visit your son down there, you maybe get to go to a game.
Well, that's true. Jacksonville's in the same conference, so it'd be great to. I'll be going down there which is another benefit of being an assistant coach or helping out. Be going down there over the Christmas vacation. So,
I mean, when you think of those players, was there a thread, a certain attribute, I don't know, a competitiveness, something that went through all of them that you could link them all together, or were they all totally different type of human beings and different players?
Well, they were different type of humans, but to be honest with you, they all had a lot of common traits. One, they worked hard, they wanted to be good, and they drive themselves. I mean, as a coach, you can only do so much, but they have to have that inner drive. And I think just all the people that you mentioned had that inner drive, and they wanted to be successful. I mean, probably another example is Torrey Thomas. Mm-hmm. Torrey Thomas, he everywhere he went, he's small, he's 5'6", 5'8", whatever he was prior to high school, and he went out to prove everybody right. And now he's played over in Europe now for the last 10 or 11 years, making really good money over in France. And he hasn't forgotten either. One of the nice things is that he gives back. He has a camp he runs every year in White Plains for the kids, and he gives back to the community, which is a great thing to see. I mean, even Earl Johnson, he assistant coach up at a high school in Syracuse. He works for the Syracuse Education Department too. So I mean, they're great, and those names were great players.
Right.
But it's over. One of the other things that gives me satisfaction, and I was telling somebody this story the other day. I had a kid by the name Imran Siddiqui. Okay. A lot of people don't remember Imran Siddiqui, but he was on a state championship team. He was a role player, and he went down to Haverford College in Pennsylvania and tried out for the team, and made the team, but he hurt his knee. And through this whole rehabilitation process, he decided, I want to get into orthopedics. And make a long story short, he went to Harvard, interned at the Harvard Medical School, and he he was there in Boston 2013 when the bombing occurred. He was one of the first responders.
Wow.
And he wrote me a nice little letter thanking me how Trinity had helped him decide to become a doctor, et cetera, but giving him the courage to go on. And he actually is now a successful orthopedic guy down in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
With 4 children. So,
hey, that's excellent. I mean,
that's the kind of thing that makes you really, another name you probably know who he is, but you didn't know he was a great basketballer, Henry Simmons.
No, I didn't know.
Henry Simmons, if you watched Hill Street Blue, was the big detective. He became an actor. He went to Franklin Pierce. He was a pretty good basketball player for me, but we got him to Franklin Pierce College up in New Hampshire. And part of the things that he did was he joined the drama club. And he liked it, and he became successful at it. And when he got out, he started doing bit parts, and now he's a pretty successful actor in Hollywood. So I've had doctors and lawyers and teachers, and I've been blessed with really good kids.
Well, I think that's what when I was reading all the accolades and everything, it struck me. There wasn't anybody that broke down X's and O's with you. No one talked about, you taught them how to be a better jump shooter or how to be a better passer.
I didn't, because I couldn't shoot.
There'll be people that dispute that. I didn't know. I didn't get to see you play. But anyways, everybody talked about it was outside, and I think that's what the great coaches do. It's not just about what you do on the court. It's taking things you learn on the court, character building things, and incorporating into your life, into what you want to do. Because let's face facts, even the best players don't play forever.
There's no question. I mean, you're preparing these kids for life, really, when you come down to it. And not to be over dramatic about it, but if you point them in the right direction and give them what you feel is the right way to do things, you feel like you've helped at some point. And I feel that I'm very blessed to have done that.
When you think about that, and I know Lombardi was the great one who said things like trying to find places inside a guy that he doesn't even know exist. And as a coach, I don't want you to identify the guy by name, but does anybody come to mind that you saw a kid and you just egged them along? Or maybe it's a whole series of kids that you can look back and say, hey, that was more than a win, that was my achievement there.
I don't know. That's hard to say. I think that I never really met a bad kid, and some of them needed to be pointed in the right direction. I wasn't always successful, by the way. Sometimes maybe it didn't turn out the way they had hoped or I had hoped, but for the most part, though, I think I've been able to help kids, and some of them come from poor backgrounds, which is something that a lot of people don't take into consideration. I mean, I'm not going to name names, but there was a kid who actually went on to play major college basketball who in the second or third grade, because of the city he was in, was labeled as retarded. And he wasn't. But because he kept quiet and didn't say anything, eventually he was able to come out of it, and he was able to come to Trinity. When he came to Trinity, he really, with the teachers I give a lot of credit to, they were able to bring out the best in him. A lot of people thought he was a below average student, was never going to make it. Well, the guy ended up being very successful, and through the help of everything at Trinity Catholic, to be honest with you, and he went on and played major college basketball.
Yeah, I don't know if it's basketball as a whole, but I know you did, and we talked about him before, Jack Sushi, players like that, those blue-collar players that are endearing to a basketball coach's heart. Talk a little bit about him and maybe some of the other guys, because I always love the fact that you come into your gym and like for a preseason, you'd think who you always surprise me who you picked as a captain sometimes. But it was a guy you'd sit there and go, really? And then you'd watch the kid and you'd see the effort he put out there, and you rewarded him, which was special. I mean, it's easy to pick the high scorer and say, here's your captain, but to pick the guy and let him know he's appreciated.
Well, the high scorers know that they're good. and there are leaders by the way they play, and sometimes vocally too. But the guys who, like a Jack Suchi, make things better for the coach. I mean, other kids see how hard they're working. I mean, Jack Suchi's a kid who limited offensively, but we put him on some of the better players in the FCAC to shut him down, and he did. I'm really proud of him, because, I mean, he went on, he won the Officials Award for a Scholar Athlete, and now he's going to Fairfield University, and I know he's going to do well and be successful, and he'll be one of these stories that, we talk about another 5 years from now. So, that's all really rewarding.
And you told me about the incredible stat. He only scored 15 points for the year or something, like 50 points in the year. What did he score? I
said he's a defensive specialist.
Yeah, there you go. Hey.
So, I mean, he didn't really score a lot of points, that's for sure. And, that doesn't, you all have to fit your role.
Right.
I think that's the hardest part for a coach as far as just the basketball end of things. And I've had some really good players, and I've had teams with like 5, 6, 7 really good players. In order to get them to understand their role and be dedicated to their role, it's not an easy thing to do sometimes, and I think that's an accomplishment as a coach, and I'm very happy about that.
Now, one person that Trinity Catholic isn't going to be losing, well, you're going to be there, so she'll probably still be there. But your number one fan, your wife, has always been there, and she's been probably maybe your assistant coach in the crowd, can we say, or whatever. And I did an article about her years ago, and she's a special lady, and I remember saying how, how much sports meant to the Walsh family. And, when you were coaching Babe Ruth, vacations mattered on where the tournament was going to be. But, I mean, talk about her and, what she's been with you.
I was very, very fortunate to meet my wife, and, she's been so great. I mean, we've had 5 children, and she's seen a lot of basketball games, a lot of baseball games, and volleyball, softball, the whole thing. And she's always there. And now she's doing the same thing with our grandchildren. I mean, I don't know where I'd be without her, to be honest with you. Tracy Nichols had the great label. He called her St. Lisa. If anybody puts up with me and handles the kids as well as she does, she deserves to.
No, she's really a special lady. You're definitely part of the alumni, whatever you want to call it, the Stanford. What is it about Stanford athletes? You've been around it forever. There seems to be, generationally, whether it be, especially in baseball and basketball, and even guys like, Ryan Haggerty in hockey, where there's something about athletics and Stanford that seems to go together. What is it about the town?
I hope that stays that way, but sometimes recently I've seen it kind of drifting away. But you're right. I mean, you mentioned Ryan Haggerty. I coached his father, Roger, in baseball.
Right.
And back in the day, and we're still good friends. But there seems to be something starting with way back, probably with Sharkey Laredo and Bobby Valentine, Jim Sabia, then going through with Mickey Leone and people of that nature. It was like a fabric of coaches and players that in baseball and basketball, and I'm familiar with those two. I'm sure the same with football maybe, but they just kind of like all, followed each other. And there was certainly a sense of community among the Stanford people. And, I hope we're not losing that.
Yeah.
But I don't want to go there. But, you still have the good camaraderie among the people, and, which is good.
When you look ahead, when you look at the FCIAC now, is the FCIAC at a turning? Is high school sports? Is it kind of at a tipping point, turning point? We see so much. You hear so much about people going to prep schools, and the specialization. That's one thing that's always been great about Trinity Catholic is the players play 2, 3, and sometimes 3 sports. The specialization. When you see that happening, what do you think about specialization for kids?
Well, I think the pressure on the really good, for example, basketball player is you got to play AAU, and it becomes an all year round type thing. And I'm not necessarily in favor of it, but it's if you take for example Roshmel Jones. I mean, Roshmel Jones was a heck of an athlete. I think I never recruited anybody, but Rich Albanizio was our football coach, and he was also the gym teacher for Roshmel Jones. And he always thought he was going to be a football player, so we helped him come to Trinity Catholic at the time. And if he played football to this day, Rich Albanizio said he would have been made a pro. And he probably would have. He was that good an athlete. But he's, went to basketball, and as soon as basketball is over in the spring, you're doing AAU in the summer, and then you start with fall. And basketball especially is becoming an all year round. I think hockey may be the same way too.
Right.
And now I see baseball headed in that direction, football with their 7-on-7s. So you're all these others were a 3-sport athlete, which I think is great. I mean, take a look at Tommy Costigan,
right,
who was football. He's going to be hopefully a pro someday. And basketball, he helped us win a lot of games. And
great catcher.
And a tremendous baseball player. He took us People forget that year that we went to the state semifinals, the FCIAC semifinals, with Costigan and Randy Poloni and people like that. But, you know, unfortunately, I think its specialization has come about. I'm not a fan of it, but it's almost the kids are being forced into it. And prep school is another. I think that's something that could hurt not only the FCIAC, but all high school sports. I mean, the one thing that you can do now when you go to a prep school is, first of all, they start playing basketball, for example, right away. And, you know, they play 40 games. And if you go to the right prep school, you're being seen by a lot of people. But the thing with prep schools is every success story, there's also somebody who's not doing that well. We were fortunate, a kid named Aaron Wheeler, who played for me as a freshman and sophomore, left to go to prep school. And it was a good move on his part because they were paying for it, number one. Number two, he was able to stay back. He was young. And then he went on and developed. And he is now at Purdue University. So that was a good move. But I can tell you 5 other players in the FCIAC that left their public school to go someplace and are not successful. They're getting Division III offers that they would have had when they were in the FCIAC. Maybe they would have got better offers in the FCIAC because they would have stood out. And if you want to do a prep school year, my idea is do it on the back end.
Right.
Play your high school, be with your friends, have a great time, and get recognized. Because, to be honest with you, I think a lot of coaches, college coaches, recruit out of AAU anyway. So I don't think that's a good move for a lot of kids.
Well, and we're going to down to the end of this, but before we go, we got to talk because this year, for maybe the first time since 2004 when they first beat the curse, your Red Sox look pretty damn good. And you don't have to concentrate on basketball right now. You can enjoy this ride. Talk to me about your Red Sox.
Well, I'm enjoying the Red Sox. I mean, as I say, it's we were talking about before, it's really a great season that they're having. I almost don't want to talk about it because I might want to jinx it, you know. And I still go back to the days when we had the lead, and I think it was 2011, and the chicken and the beer and all that stuff, and we ended up not being successful. So I'm just taking it one game at a time, and hopefully we can get there, and you know, then you got to prove it in the postseason. But yeah, I've been a diehard Red Sox fan forever. I was actually. You're talking about Ted Williams, and I saw that wonderful show on PBS. My uncle took me to I was born in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Right.
So I'm a Massachusetts guy to start with. And my uncle took me to the Red Sox game, Ted Williams' last one. So he made a home run. His last game.
Oh, you got to see
in Fenway Park. I was there. It was a cold, gray day, and there was only about 10,000 people, if 10,000 people were there. And a memory I don't forget. And you know, he still never tipped his cap, though.
No, well, he was a special guy. I told you about the story with me and my father had with him.
Right. You just told me that. That was terrific.
But you know, now as you're getting ready for the post career right now, if you could just sum up in a sentence what coaching has meant to your life, what it was for you, how would you describe it?
I would describe it as rewarding and humbling and kind of fulfillment to my life. And I thank all the players and the people that have been involved, especially my own family. And you know, I expect this all to continue a little bit as we go forward because, as I say, I'm stepping back as a head coach, but going to be an assistant, and maybe I can actually affect more people that way.
Was there any one thing that maybe you would want to have done differently, or was there any disappointment you ever had?
Well, I can think of the 6 state championship games.
Okay.
We could have been 13 state championships, but no, not really. I don't think I would do a darn thing different, and I'm happy with what I've been able to accomplish.
Well, I certainly wouldn't want to change anything myself because, I mean, Mike, great career, and you deserve every accolade you've been getting. Really, I thank you. You were a pleasure with me every day, every time we met, and total respect for you and your program. And I'll tell you, everybody around this area shares it, and you're going to be missed.
Well, I won't be missed because I'll still be on the
that's true.
sideline,
You'll be
but
the-
I won't be up screaming at the referees anyway. But no, that's another group I got along with pretty good too. The referees. I had a couple people of them compliment me. They send me emails, but no, I've enjoyed every minute of it. And to be honest with you, Joe, I wouldn't change it, but I'm still going to be involved. I think that was really key for me stepping down, knowing that I could still be involved in a program.
Well, we're glad for that. Well, this is Joe Ryan for the Stamford scene. We're on the scene with Mike Walsh tonight. We can't thank him enough for coming in. And you're welcome back anytime you want to come back and talk.
Joe,
even if it's just to talk about the Red Sox when they win. No, I can't say that. I don't want to jinx it.
Joe, listen, thanks very much for having me. Appreciate it.
Mike, thank you very much
You've always
for
been a
coming
great guy, and I thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Good night, everybody. See you next time on The Scene.